Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Toby Investigates. Now, I've got a question for you. Just how exactly do you size a child on a bike? It's a very tricky process, what with the increased importance of safety and confidence and their rapid rate of growth. Things change all the time. Well, thankfully, I have had the opportunity to speak to one of the leading authorities on children's bikes, Sir Chris Hoy, none other than himself, in order to help you guys with some information. Check it out. Okay guys, we're back. I'm with Sir Chris, and today we're going to be going through how to size a child on a bike. Now, I've got my wonderful assistant Jack here, and Chris, today let's find Jack the right size bike. How do we start about doing that?
Well, very luckily, just behind Jack here, we've got this sizing chart.
Okay.
Just so happens it's here right now. And as you can see, Jack is just, with his shoes on, is just popping into the 20 wheel diameter bracket. So he's kind of on the cusp. If he didn't have his shoes on, he would be right in that limit between the 16 and the 20-inch wheel. Okay,
so with the sizing chart, is that it? Is that the job done? Should we take this as absolute gospel?
This is just a very rough guide that gives you a kind of initial starting point. So you can say, well, let's have a look at some 16-inch and some 20-inch wheel bikes to sort of get Jack on them. See how he looks sitting on the bike, right. And if he looks right, that's a good starting point.
So I guess the next step is to get Jack on a bike, right?
Absolutely.
Let's sit him on a bike. Jack, do you want to jump onto this red one? So this is a
20-inch
wheel,
yep.
As the height chart has suggested. You all right there, Jack? Now, what do you reckon, Chris?
Right, well, do you know what? It's not far off. He's a little bit stretched out.
Yeah.
But I think we've got a few little things we can do to change the position. You can raise or lower the stem, and you can change these washers. You can raise and lower the saddle. You can put the saddle further forward or further back. I would be inclined to say this is a little bit stretched out for him. We could possibly drop the stem and maybe even bring the saddle slightly further forward. But okay. You can see he's got his feet flat on the ground, which is important. You have to be able to reach the ground for safety. So if he does have a little wobble, you can get his feet flat without falling over. And he has to be able to reach and operate the controls without being too stretched out.
Okay, so let's have a look at Jack on a 16, because that was our other option, right?
Yep.
Jack, if you wouldn't mind jumping on there. So this could be the right size, but I've got a feeling it's going to be too small. How do we know if a bike's too small?
Well, for a start, you can see Jack's legs are bent with his feet flat on the ground. We can raise the saddle a little bit and see if that makes a significant difference. The risk is, when he's pedaling, you see how long his legs are now, that there's a risk that he might catch his knees when he's turning corners. You've got to be able to operate the bike without having any kind of restrictions. And yeah, I think this at the moment, it's certainly too small. We can see if we put the saddle up, it might make it better. But my instinct would say adjusting the 20-inch would be the best approach. All right, so let's give that a shot. Jack, I'm going to ask you to jump off here, and I'm just going to mess with this red bike quickly. So drop the handlebars. And I'd say drop the stem. Yeah, drop the bars down. Okay. And maybe move the saddle a little bit further forward, and we'll give that a go. Okay, let's do this as quickly.
Okay, so I've slid the seat forward as suggested. Put the handlebars down. Jack, do you want to jump back on? Let's take a look at how this bike fits now.
How does that feel?
It's a bit better suited, right?
It's hard to tell until you actually ride it, but to me, it looks as if you're not having to reach quite as far forward. I think the saddle height is okay. You'll have to wait until you see what you like pedaling on it, but I think that is a much better starting position than being on a much smaller bike where his knees are going to be knocking the bars. And so with saddle height, I know you touched on it very briefly earlier, but it's important to have our feet, basically flat on the ground with this, right? It's all about confidence. I think for safety, you have to be able to get your feet flat on the floor in the case of any kind of little emergency. But also, if you don't want to be sort of having your legs bent and touching the floor because the saddle's too low then. But I think, that to me looks as if that is a bike that has got a bit of definitely growing room for Jack. It's not maybe quite right now, but he's almost right. The risk is that you buy a bike that's way too big because you're looking to grow into it and it just takes forever, and the child really doesn't like riding the bike because it's quite scary because they can't stop quick. They can't get their feet on the ground. They're not in control of the bike. So from a safety and a confidence point of view, don't buy the bike that's too big, but you have one that you can actually adjust and make bigger for them to grow into. So I guess that's the golden question. If I've got the opportunity to save a bit of money, buy a bike that might be a little bit too big for Jack, is it worth doing, or is it a false economy? I think it's a false economy. I think that there's a big risk they're going to A, hurt themselves, and B, put themselves off cycling if they're not confident and happy on the bike. You buy a good quality bike, you can always sell it on or keep it for a younger sibling. If it's, if it's a good quality one, it won't lose much value. So yeah, I would always say make sure you get a bike that fits the child at the moment rather than one that's going to fit them in 6 months or a year's time.
So there we have it, some information for you to digest there. Safety and confidence being the key things to focus on when sizing a child on a bike. If you have any questions on anything you've seen in this video, please leave me a comment in the section below or pop into one of our stores where one of our well-trained colleagues should be able to help you out. I look forward to hearing from you, and until the next time, enjoy the ride.